Hi, I'm Natasha Silverman and I'm a relationship counsellor and sex therapist at Relate.
Olive, can you see me? Because I can't see you.
I can see you. Just be patient.
Oh, there you are. Huh.
Okay, so straight away we can see that this is not going to be an easy phone call. This is probably not an easy relationship. When Liv sees that her mum is calling her, she tenses up, she starts breathing up here, and she's just scrambling around trying to make the room look however she wants it to look. But she manages to compose herself. She takes a deep breath and she takes a massive glug of wine and she accepts the call. But it seems like she's really anticipating that this is going to be tough, and that suggests that maybe there's a little bit of a pattern there that exists already with her mum. But I'm also conscious it's the holidays. Now Liv is standing there making her cranberry sauce, trying to get into the holiday spirit, and her mum phones up and just rips her right out of that mindset. And the holidays can really bring in a sense of guilt and pressure and expectation when it comes to our relationships within our family of origin. So that's something that could be going on there too. It's also quite hard to ignore that there's something funny going on with the power dynamic. When Liv is off screen and her mum anxiously says, where are you? I can't see you. Liv says, you'll have to be patient, which is quite an interesting thing to say to your mother. And that makes me wonder whether Liv is quite used to being in more of a parental role with her mother, whether there's a bit of a history to that. When children grow up and are asked to or have had to become more of a parental figure to their own parent, we call that parentification.
Red in the cheeks.
Thank you, Mother. I'm cooking. Cranberry sauce.
Well, that came in jars last time I checked.
Well, I want it to be nice. Our first Christmas in New York.
Will's roasting chestnuts, is he?
You know he's on a work trip. You going to Val's tomorrow?
Okay, so there's a little passive-aggressive snipe here from Liv's mum towards Will, Liv's husband, and we're not really sure where that's coming from yet, but Liv leaps to Will's defence. She absolutely shuts that down. She's having absolutely none of it. But this is quite a common phenomenon that we see in the counselling room, and it's where our loved ones can be a little bit too vocal, a little bit too critical about our partners. And the problem with that is that when we then do face any relationship problems, which are inevitable, it means that we're going to be more reluctant to open up to them. So actually going to our loved ones and saying, hey, I'm struggling, might be too difficult if we feel that historically there's been a lot of criticism and judgment, and that we might be proving our loved ones right. But it's quite interesting because there's a real hardness and an edge between them, but nothing has really been said of substance. So you couldn't really pinpoint anything that's been said that's inflammatory or hurtful, and yet every single comment is just so loaded with meaning. It's just, one bullet after the next. But if you're on the outside looking in, you might think, well, what is being said that is so painful and so upsetting? But that is families. And I think this is such a brilliant depiction of how families actually work, that so much is unsaid. We apply all of our own meaning. It's all so loaded. And to someone on the outside, it just seems like nothing.
Mum, you can't be alone on Christmas Day.
Why not? It's just a day like any other. Got marginally better TV.
I don't want you to be on your own.
Well, you saw to that, didn't you?
Look, next year, we'll fly you over. Have you with us?
Okay, so here Liv softens. That hardness kind of melts away between them a little bit, and it's quite clear that she's feeling a lot of guilt and probably responsibility about her mum being alone for Christmas. Because, no matter how difficult relationships are, we often still feel love and a sense of duty to our families. But it's also clear that Liv's mum is struggling with this as well. She seems to have some resentment about the fact that Liv has left, and she says essentially in another little dig, you know, you moved to New York, you've left me behind, and you're surprised that I'm alone for Christmas. And I have a lot of empathy for both of them because they are both feeling very valid things, but these are two people who don't really have the tools or the ability to talk about this openly and in a healthy way that would be healing for them and for their relationship.
You've seen your father's sunning himself in Australia, of all places. Her in a two-piece, after all those kids. Of course, if he had anything about him, he'd say something instead of letting her shame herself like that.
Mum, I'm not interested.
What, you think I am? I can't escape the bloody circus in putting picture after picture up on Facebook.
Here we can conclude that there's been a relationship breakdown between Liv's mother and Liv's father somewhere along the line, and it seems like Liv's mum is really struggling to process the end of that relationship. She's not making her way through the grief cycle and ultimately ending up in acceptance, and as a result she's in a real place of bitterness. And we can see that this is not a new wound for Liv. She's very much used to this conversation. It looks like she's heard it 1,000 times, and so she's putting up a very clear boundary very fast. You know, Mum, I don't want to hear it, essentially. But again, Liv isn't really saying how she feels. She's just trying to make the problem go away. And we talked earlier about how Liv may be familiar with being in that role of parent, and we know that parentified children find it very difficult to actually maintain boundaries. And so this might be Liv's attempt to shut this down once and for all and to say, I'm not going to be pulled back into this cycle. Liv is also being put in a really difficult position by being asked to hear her mum's criticism of her father. And when we bring in a third to a conversation like this that revolves around two people's conflict, we call that triangulation. And Liv is being well and truly triangulated, and it seems quite clear that this is not the first time.
How about you stop looking?
That's you all over, isn't it? Out of sight, out of mind. Anyway, I'm sure you're far too busy to talk to your old mum, so happy Christmas and all that.
Oh, that is heartbreaking to watch. So finally, we've got to the root of this, and finally someone has said how they actually feel. Liv's mum says, that's just like you, isn't it? You know, out of sight, out of mind. And it seems like this is not a new feeling for Liv's mum. She has felt rejected and unwanted and abandoned in the past. It sounds like from Liv's father, and now she's feeling that way as a result of Liv moving to New York and leaving her behind. And Liv's mum doesn't want to hang around to unpack that. She's kind of dropped that bomb and she's going, and that must be quite frustrating for Liv, who now has to carry the guilt of that on Christmas as well. So there's a little bit of stonewalling there by Liv's mum, but I'm hopeful that that's not a mechanism to actually punish Liv. She's not trying to punish Liv through disconnection and by ending the call, but actually she probably just doesn't have the tools and the strategies to have this conversation in a way that's healthy. And on the holidays, people do tend to avoid ruffling feathers. They just want to get through the holidays and to survive them.